what nation wants to know. I'm Madhavdas G. After the sacred consecration ceremony in Ayodhya that has taken place earlier today, the temple town is adorned with a radiant glow of 10 lakh diyas, transforming its landscape into a mesmerizing spectacle. On your screens are the visuals coming in from the temple town as far as the Deepotsav is concerned. Let's quickly take this across to our reporters who are on ground. We have Swati with us, Deepa, Mohit Bhatt joining us at the moment. Mohit, I believe you're outside the Hanuman Gadi temple where firecrackers are being burst, and it's literally Diwali being celebrated by the residents of the temple town. Mohit. I think there's a problem with that audio there.
Now the Deepavali is being celebrated at Hanuman Gadi, and you can see these are the visuals. My camera person Satendra will show you how exactly the Deepavali is being celebrated over here at Hanuman Gadi. Now the people of Ayodhya basically say that they have been waiting for this moment for more than 500 years, and now we see that how exactly the Deepavali is being celebrated. And the people over here say that they have been waiting for this for a long time. Diwali मना रहे हैं। आज अयोध्या में क्या पूरे देश में दिवाली मन रही है? पूरे विश्व में बन रही है। कैसा लग रहा है आज?
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। हम बहुत दूर से चल के आए हैं, हम राजस्थान से चल के आए हैं। आज हमें पटाखे चलाने का, दिवाली मनाने का
चलाइए पटाखे चलाइए, जरा बताइए कि क्या चल रहा है अब, कैसा? So as you can see, the crackers are being burst on main Hanuman Gadi Chauraha over here, and Hanuman Gadi is the temple. Hanuman Gadi is the temple where you have to come first, take permission from Lord Hanuman to visit the temple of Lord Ram. Sir, कैसा लग रहा है, क्या कहेंगे, माहौल क्या है आज अयोध्या का?
माहौल हमें बहुत 500 वर्ष बाद हमें ये क्षण मिला है। 2 महीने बाद ही हम फिर से दोबारा दिवाली मना रहे हैं। हमने
कितने दिन से आप कहाँ रहते हैं सर? अयोध्या के यहाँ दिवाली मन रही है फिर से? और क्या, इतनी रौनक तो मुझे लगता है कभी नहीं हुआ
सर। 500 साल बाद जो हमारे पूर्वजों ने मेहनत करी थी उसका फल।
इतनी रौनक नहीं थी जो आज इतनी रौनक हो रही है।
आज भावना अलग है लोगों की।
राजनीति में साधु संत त्यागी न रहेंगे अधिकारी, तो राष्ट्र बेचकर भर लेंगे भंडार भवन भ्रष्टाचारी। 10 कंधर से लड़ने वाला कोई न महान मनस्वी था, विद्रोह प्रथम करने वाला भारत का एक तपस्वी था। गांधी तनय मन चिंता व्यापी, जो इसे नहीं मानते जन्मभूमि मातृभूमि, ऐसी मानसिकता का मुख मोड़ देना चाहिए। जो खाते हैं अन्न यहाँ का, गीत गाते दूसरों का।
तो आप ये बताइए कि कितना बड़ा दिन है आज आपके लिए, ये भी बताइए। दिवाली मन रही है
जी, हमारे लिए हमारे जीवन का ये पहला दिन है।
There you see how people are excited. They are celebrating Diwali over here at Hanuman Gadi, and they are raising slogans, and they say that they will continue their celebrations as Ram आ गए हैं, राम ने वहीं आना था, राम आ गए हैं. This is the sense over here. This is the feeling in Ayodhya and all throughout the country. Back to you, studio.
All right, let's go across to Swati, who's joining us from, in fact, the Ram Ki Paidi, where the Deepotsav is currently on. Swati, just take us through the visuals, because over 10 lakh diyas, we are told, being lit over there at the Ram Ki Paidi on the banks of the Saryu. It must be quite a spectacle, and if you have people with you, if you could just speak to them about the sense of celebration at this moment of, as Mohit was telling us, the people of Ayodhya consider this literally the return of Lord Ram.
Right, absolutely, Madhav. If that question was for me, I can actually barely hear you, but let me show you these visuals. Diwali has come early in Ayodhya. It's Diwali-like celebrations all across Ayodhya now after the Pran Pratishtha. And in fact, this is one of the locations, Ram Ki Paidi, where 1,60,000 diyas have been placed. When I earlier came here to take stock of the preparations that were underway, I saw school students lining up all the diyas, and not just Ram Ki Paidi. In fact, prominent locations like the Madhavdas G, Gupta Ghat, Kanak Bhavan, all of them right now lit up through these diyas. There's Diwali-like celebration and atmosphere here. And you know, as it is said, Madhav, when Lord Ram came back after the 14-year exile, after the 14-year Vanvas, this is how people celebrated that occasion. This is how they welcomed him back home. And that is exactly what we are witnessing. Many, in fact, describing this as a return of the Treta Yuga, a return of the Treta Yuga along with the return of Lord Ram. So there's a celebration celebration, and in fact, after the wait is over, this is how people are celebrating the entire occasion. It is
Absolutely, the
taking
return
them
of
time
Lord
to-
Ram, and those pictures are absolutely magnificent there, Swati. Certainly a Diwali there for the citizens of Ayodhya. But Akanksha is also joining us. And Akanksha, I'm told you're right outside the Ram temple, and there's every possibility that there could be a media preview or a media darshan today following that high-profile ceremony that took place earlier today. What's happening at the Ram temple at the moment, Akanksha?
Well, absolutely. We are coming live to you from gate number 11. This is right outside the Ram Mandir. This road leads to Ram Mandir, and it is expected that in just some time, media personals will be taken inside the Ram Mandir for a tour, is what we're getting to know. But definitely, Madhav, today, the evening, right after the consecration ceremony is quite different. The entire city is decked up in colorful flowers. We showed you visuals of dazzling array of lights and palpable energy that defines this historical moment. We in fact joined a lot of people and they are excited as ever. क्या कहेंगे?
बहुत सुंदर लग रहा है हम लोग बहुत दूर से आए हुए हैं, बिहार से आए हुए हैं, बांका जिला से। हम लोग को बहुत सुंदर लग रहा है, बहुत सुंदर सुविधा है सब।
प्रधानमंत्री ने बोला कि पहले राम लल्ला टेंट में थे, अब वो मंदिर में आ चुके हैं। क्या कुछ इमोशंस है
अंदर यही इमोशन है कि राम मंदिर के दर्शन हो, हम लोग जयकारा गूंजते हुए।
साल का था अभिलाषा, वो आज पूरा हुआ। हम लोग बहुत फेवरेट मानते हैं कि भगवान की कृपा से ये हो गया। मोदी का
राजस्थान से है। ये जो राम मंदिर है 500 साल पहले से झोपड़ी में थे, अब राम मंदिर प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने द्वारा संपन्न हुआ है। कोई से भी नेता जैसे कांग्रेस के तो बहुत पिक्सबाजी कर रहे हैं।
Akanksha, I'd like to thank you as well as Mohit and Swati for getting us all those quick updates from on ground in Ayodhya. Moment of celebration indeed for the residents of the city and certainly, of course, outside of Ayodhya through the country and in fact many parts of the world as well where this moment is being celebrated. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Let's quickly turn this around and take this across to Swapan Dasgupta, former member of parliament who's joining us live. Swapan Dasgupta, it's a significant moment, not just from a religious perspective as far as the Ram temple Pran Pratishtha that was concluded a short while earlier today, but also from the perspective of our cultural heritage, of our spiritual legacy. Do you see this as being a very, very important moment?
Well, I think it's a very truly defining landmark as far as the civilizational evolution of India is concerned. I mean, the religious significance or whatever it is, you may speak about it. But I think what's important is that for a very long time, India had been suffering, the collective consciousness of India had been suffering from a feeling of complete defeatism, which had been occasioned by many thousands of years, or rather thousands of years of subordination, political subordination, and a certain domination, a cultural domination by someone else. Now, today marks one of the very, very important landmarks in which a sense of liberation has been occasioned in India. And that liberation has been caused because for the first time, India has recovered its sense of self-esteem. Now, you may say that, it's only a temple and it's not that. It's more than just a temple. It's symbolic. Everything, the entire struggle leading up to it, the feeling that 500 years of history, somehow you've somehow checked a decline. All these are facets which are going to be very, very important in the coming days. But it, of course, depends considerably on how India as a whole, what it does with this feeling of elation, jubilation, which we see today. It's to build on that. That is very important.
Right. Also, Prime Minister today talking about those who have questioned, the impact of constructing a Ram temple and what it would possibly lead to. There have been several questions in the past, and he talks about this, saying that Ram आग नहीं, ऊर्जा है, विवाद नहीं, समाधान है, वर्तमान नहीं, अनंत काल है. Very interesting that the Prime Minister chose that stage at the Ram temple to answer all those who were raising questions about the possibility even of building a temple.
Well, I think, there are two ways of looking at it. You can look upon the construction of the Ram temple in Ayodhya as a victory in a war. Or you can say that, look, this marks a settlement of a very divisive chapter, a very troubled chapter of our history, and it marks the beginning of a new phase. It really depends on how this plays out politically. And I'm very glad that the Prime Minister actually said, look, this is not really about settling past scores. It's about building a new future. And it's that which is important. So it's what you emphasize. No doubt there will be some who will be talking about the past. But it's important that as a whole, the thrust is towards reconciliation, ending past disputes, and looking to a new future, a bright future.
Right. As somebody who's interacted with the Prime Minister extensively, what do you make of the Prime Minister's visit to the southern states, in particular Nasik as well? Several important places which are significant from the perspective of the stories that are contained within the Ramayan as to what happened during the course of his 14 years of exile, and tying that all together. Do you think he underlined the message that there may be barriers of geography, of language, but ultimately when you talk about the common thread that ties together a large swath of India, the Ramayan is one such uniting thread?
Well, there is a contrived narrative which is being used in India, that there is no such thing in India. And that this unity which we have, whether you call it civilizational, whether you call it political, is completely manufactured. And it's not a new theory, it's a pretty old theory. But it finds expression even in today's age. And it's one of the things it's said is that the South is different. Of course, there are differences in the South. That goes without saying. I come from the East. There are differences in the East from the North. But there is a huge measure of commonality, civilizational understanding, the heritage, etc. And the epics, the Ramayan, the Mahabharata, these are important facets which actually tie the country together. There may be versions of the Ramayan which are found in the South. There may be different interpretations of what Ravan constitutes. But at the end of the day, this heritage is very, very important. And that heritage overrides all the other differences which are there. And I think the Prime Minister wanted to emphasize that it's the commonality, just as he wanted to emphasize that it's a new chapter. Here he wanted to emphasize the commonalities which are there, rather than the differences which are there. Of course, nobody is saying there is going to be uniformity, but the commonality and there's a difference between commonality and uniformity. And right. We are talking about the commonalities, and the South is very much as close to my heart in the East as it is to someone in the North, and vice versa.
Right. Also, but, the question that many would raise, and in fact, opposition parties have been saying this for the last fortnight or so, they are asking whether this can be completely divorced from politics, because at the end of the day, this is all happening just months ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. And at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has also center stage when it comes to today's Pran Pratishtha ceremony. How do you look at it?
Well, it's the job of the opposition to oppose. So I guess you will always find discordant elements to discover in this. You will find something or the other. But there are certain occasions in Indian history where it's important to actually point out the commonalities and march together. Even in 1947, 15th August 1947, there were people who said, "Ye azadi jhoota hai." They are the same people who are today boycotting this ceremony and talking about that this has nothing to do with the heritage of India. So, you will get those voices. This is a democracy, and we've got to take this. But it's also the strength of our democracy that we can actually digest it all, accommodate everything, and say, no, even though you might have another point of view, you're still very much a part of our land. You're very much a part of our political system, and we'll fight the elections when they come. And elections will produce good results for the BJP one day, bad results for the BJP another day. But that's part of life, and that's how it should be.
Because there are those such as the Kerala Chief Minister, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan today, who, for instance, has said that, he's doing his constitutional duty by not attending the Pran Pratishtha, and at the same time saying that the government has no role in a secular state to be part of a religious function. How do you look at that criticism coming in?
Well, India, you see, there is a very thin line of divide between what constitutes culture, what constitutes civilization, what constitutes religion. There is a large measure of intermingling. We are not like the French. We talk about a hatred or a great wall of China, which divides, between what is religion and what is culture and what is constitution, etc. There are considerable measures of overlap. What is important is that India is a secular state. Why is India a secular state? India is a secular state because we do not discriminate people on the basis of their religion. But at the same time, our nationhood is defined to a very large extent by what we can consider underpinnings which are Hindu in character. And you cannot sort of suddenly say that India as a nation, India as an entity, India as a civilization starts only on 26th of January 1950, and what preceded it is not important. That is equally important to us. Our sense of who we are has been defined quite a lot by that. And the legacy of Ram, the whole entire story of Ayodhya, the story of Ramayan, the entire basis on which, why we think this temple is very important at this point in our existence, and why the restoration of the temple.
And as we speak, in fact, Mr. Dasgupta, fresh pictures of the Prime Minister coming in, of him lighting the lamp there, talking about the Deepotsav, very significant pictures are coming in of Prime Minister shortly after the Pran Pratishtha, lighting the lamp and literally calling it Ram Jyoti. That's the tweet coming in from the Prime Minister. Hashtag Ram Jyoti is what he has put out. Those visuals of the Prime Minister lighting the lamp in Ayodhya coming out. Thanks so much, Mr. Dasgupta, for joining us. We'll have to leave you with these pictures, very significant pictures that are coming in from Ayodhya.